What if I told you that the reason your wallet stays empty has absolutely nothing to do with your job, your education, or even the economy around you? What if the real problem isn't financial at all, but something far deeper, something spiritual that most people never recognize? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Today, I want to share with you a truth that might completely revolutionize how you think about money, abundance, and that simple object you carry in your pocket or purse every single day. Has this ever happened to you? You open your wallet expecting to find enough for what you need, only to discover it's practically empty again, leaving you with that familiar sinking feeling in your stomach, that moment of panic, that whisper of not again, that automatic thought of there's never enough. Most people accept this as normal. They blame their circumstances, their boss, their bills, or bad luck. But what you're about to discover might surprise you completely. Because according to the profound teachings of Joseph Murphy, that empty wallet isn't telling you about your financial situation at all. It's revealing something much more significant about your spiritual alignment. You see, every time you've looked at your wallet with dread, every time you've spoken those familiar words of lack, every time you've touched it with the energy of fear instead of faith, you've been participating in a spiritual process that most people are completely unaware of. Your wallet has become a mirror, reflecting back to you the exact words you've been speaking and the spiritual laws you've been unconsciously activating. The revolutionary truth that Joseph Murphy discovered is this: you were never born to fear money. You weren't designed to struggle, stress, or suffer over financial supply. Instead, you were born with an incredible power, the power to govern money through the authority of your spoken words. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I'm about to share with you isn't just theory or positive thinking. This is about understanding a fundamental spiritual law that operates with the same consistency as gravity. The moment you speak truth into form, that form begins to shift and manifest in your physical reality. Your wallet, that simple everyday object, is actually a powerful spiritual tool waiting to respond to your voice, your intention, your decree. Think about it for a moment. Every single interaction you have with money begins with your wallet. Every purchase, every payment, every moment you reach for it or look at it. And in each of those moments, whether you realize it or not, you're either speaking abundance into your life or unconsciously programming limitation. But here's what changes everything. There's a specific sentence, a precise combination of words that can transform your wallet from a source of anxiety into a portal of continuous supply. This isn't about hoping or wishing or trying to think positive thoughts while your bank account says otherwise. What you're about to learn is how to activate a spiritual law that has been waiting for your recognition, waiting for your voice, waiting for you to remember the authority you've always carried, but perhaps never fully understood. If this teaching has opened your eyes to the spiritual authority you carry over money, then you belong in this community. When you subscribe, you're not just getting videos, you're joining a family of people who understand that abundance is your birthright and spiritual law is your pathway. Hit that subscribe button and let's continue transforming your relationship with money together. This transformation begins with understanding something that might completely shift your perspective. Your wallet isn't just a piece of leather, fabric, or plastic that holds your cards and cash. When you really examine its role in your life, you'll discover something remarkable. It's actually functioning as a sacred portal, a direct bridge between your inner world and your outer financial reality. Think about the psychological impact your wallet has on you. The moment you reach for it, your body responds. Your mind creates an expectation. Your emotions shift based on what you believe you'll find inside. This simple object has become deeply woven into your identity, your sense of security, your relationship with abundance itself. It's like a shrine that you carry with you everywhere, constantly reminding you of your current financial story. But here's where this journey into hidden truth becomes fascinating. Most people have unknowingly turned their wallet into a repository for limitation instead of abundance. Without realizing it, they've been speaking what can only be described as unconscious curses over their money, programming their wallet to reflect scarcity rather than supply. These aren't dramatic, intentional curses like you might imagine from old stories. They're the casual, everyday phrases that seem so harmless, so normal, that we never question their impact. There's never enough. It's all gone again. I can't afford that. Money just doesn't stick around. Why is everything so expensive? Each time these words leave your lips while touching or thinking about your wallet, you're not just expressing frustration. You're actually casting a spell. Now, I know that might sound dramatic, but stay with me on this. Joseph Murphy understood that our subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between casual comments and serious declarations. Every word carries energy. Every phrase programs reality. When you repeatedly associate your wallet with statements of lack, you're essentially training your subconscious to ensure that lack becomes your consistent experience. The fascinating thing about this discovery is how automatic these patterns have become. Most people don't even notice they're doing it. They'll open their wallet, see less than they hoped for, and immediately think or say something that reinforces that very limitation. It's like being trapped in a cycle where the evidence creates the emotion creates the words, and the words create more evidence. But understanding this pattern is actually the beginning of your liberation from it, because once you recognize how your words have been shaping your financial reality, you can begin to consciously reshape that reality through intentional speech. Your wallet becomes something entirely different when you understand its true spiritual significance. Every time you interact with it, you're either reinforcing old limitations or programming new possibilities. Every touch, every glance, every transaction becomes an opportunity to speak truth instead of fear, abundance instead of lack, flow instead of stagnation. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic and show you exactly how to reverse these unconscious patterns. There's a specific way to transform your relationship with your wallet, a precise method that Joseph Murphy discovered for turning this everyday object into a powerful tool for manifestation. What you're about to learn will help you understand why some people seem to effortlessly attract money while others struggle despite working just as hard. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to reprogram my wallet," if this revelation about unconscious money curses makes sense to you. The breakthrough that Joseph Murphy discovered goes much deeper than most people realize. He understood that the real issue was never about money itself. Money is neutral. It's simply energy in motion. The actual problem lies in something far more subtle, yet incredibly powerful. The relationship between your voice and the symbols of money in your life. Every time you speak while holding your wallet, every word you utter when touching your cards, every phrase that crosses your lips during a financial transaction, these moments create an invisible bridge between your consciousness and your material reality. Your voice carries a frequency, and that frequency either harmonizes with abundance or creates resistance to it. Think about this for a moment. When you reach for your wallet and simultaneously think or say something negative about money, you're creating a conflicted energy signature. Your physical action says, "I'm accessing my resources," but your words say, "I don't have enough resources." This internal contradiction creates a kind of energetic static that blocks the natural flow of supply. Most people have been living with this disconnection for so long that they don't even recognize it anymore. They've forgotten that they once possessed a natural authority over their financial reality. But here's what's truly revolutionary about this understanding. You can reclaim that authority right now, in this very moment, simply by remembering who you really are and what you're truly capable of. This isn't about adopting someone else's beliefs or following a complicated system. This is about awakening to the spiritual authority you've always carried within you. Before you learned to fear money, before you absorbed society's messages about scarcity, before you developed unconscious habits around lack, you had a direct, uncomplicated relationship with abundance. Joseph Murphy recognized that buried within every person is a sacred ritual, an innate ability to speak things into existence through what he called divine speech. This isn't mystical mumbo-jumbo or wishful thinking. This is about understanding that your words carry creative power, especially when they're aligned with spiritual truth rather than material appearance. The journey back to this authority begins with recognizing that you've been unconsciously practicing a ritual all along. You just haven't been aware of it. Every interaction with your wallet has been a form of ceremony, a moment where your consciousness meets the physical world. The question is whether you've been conducting a ritual of limitation or a ritual of abundance. When you understand this hidden truth, everything changes. Suddenly, your wallet isn't just a container for your money. It becomes a sacred tool for transformation. Every time you touch it becomes an opportunity to practice conscious creation instead of unconscious limitation. Each transaction becomes a moment to align your voice with your highest good rather than your deepest fears. This revelation about the power of divine speech isn't theoretical. It's practical, immediate, and accessible to anyone willing to shift their approach. The impact on your financial reality can be swift and dramatic because you're working with spiritual law rather than against it. Behind the scenes of every person who seems to effortlessly attract money, you'll find this same principle at work. They may not call it divine speech, but they've learned to align their words with abundance rather than scarcity. They speak to their money with respect rather than resentment. They approach their financial tools with authority rather than anxiety. Now I want to reveal to you the exact words that can transform this relationship completely. There's a specific phrase, a precise combination of sounds and intentions that can reprogram your wallet from a symbol of lack into a portal of continuous supply. What makes this particular sentence so powerful is how it addresses both the spiritual and practical aspects of abundance simultaneously. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to speak differently," if you can feel the truth in what we're discussing about your forgotten spiritual authority. This transformative sentence that Joseph Murphy discovered contains a very specific combination of words, each one carefully chosen for its spiritual frequency and practical impact. When you speak these words into your wallet, you're not just saying positive things. You're actually installing new programming into both your subconscious mind and the energetic field around your money. The sentence is this: divine substance fills this wallet now. Money flows to me in perfect ways by perfect law without delay. Now I want you to really feel the power in those words as I break down what's happening behind the scenes. When you say, divine substance fills this wallet now, you're acknowledging that there's an infinite source of supply that exists beyond the physical world. You're not asking or hoping, you're declaring a present moment reality. The word now is crucial because it cuts through any sense of delay or future possibility and anchors the truth in this exact moment. The phrase, money flows to me in perfect ways by perfect law, is particularly brilliant because it removes your ego from trying to control how abundance appears. You're not dictating that it must come through your job or a specific person or a particular opportunity. Instead, you're trusting divine intelligence to orchestrate the perfect path for money to reach you, following spiritual laws that are far more sophisticated than your conscious mind could ever design. And that final phrase, without delay, eliminates the unconscious belief that good things take time, or that you have to wait for your circumstances to improve. It's a direct command to the universe that you're ready to receive now, not someday. What makes this approach so Revolutionary is how it completely transforms the function of your wallet. Instead of being a passive container that simply reflects your current financial limitations, it becomes an active receiver of spiritual law. Every time you speak these words while holding it, you're essentially reprogramming its energetic signature from scarcity to abundance. Your wallet stops being a record of what you don't have and becomes a transmitter of what you're calling into existence. It transforms from a source of anxiety into a portal where invisible abundance crosses over into visible reality. This shift happens not through magic, but through the consistent application of spiritual principles that operate with the same reliability as any natural law. The journey from limitation to abundance often begins with this single decision to change what you speak over your money. Most people never realize that their financial struggle isn't really about external circumstances. It's about the invisible conversation they're having with abundance every single day. When you start speaking this new sentence into your wallet, you begin to notice subtle changes almost immediately. Not necessarily dramatic windfalls, but shifts in energy, unexpected opportunities, forgotten refunds, helpful connections, small confirmations that something fundamental has changed in your relationship with money. If you can feel the truth of what we've shared today, stirring something deep in your spirit, if this message about divine substance and your wallet has sparked a recognition of your own spiritual authority over money, then show it by hitting that like button. It's your way of saying yes to the transformation we've explored together and helps this message reach others who are ready for their own financial breakthrough. This transformation impacts every area of your financial life because you're working at the level of cause rather than effect. Instead of trying to change your bank balance directly, you're changing the spiritual atmosphere that creates your bank balance. Instead of fighting with external circumstances, you're aligning with the laws that govern those circumstances. Now, I want to show you exactly how to implement this practice in a way that maximizes its effectiveness. There are specific times of day, particular ways of holding your wallet, and certain rhythms of repetition that can amplify the power of these words tremendously. Write in the comments, "Divine substance fills my wallet now," if you're ready to start speaking this new programming into your financial reality. The most profound shift in your financial journey happens when you fully grasp what Joseph Murphy meant about the true source of your supply. This understanding completely revolutionizes how you approach the wallet practice because it removes the anxiety and desperation that most people carry around money. You see, most of us have been conditioned to believe that our money comes from our job, our clients, our business, the government, our family, or some external circumstance. We spend our energy worrying about these channels, trying to control them, feeling stressed when they seem unstable or uncertain. But here's the hidden truth that changes everything. These are not your sources at all. They are simply channels. Your job is a channel. Your clients are channels, the economy is a channel, even your most reliable income streams are just pathways through which abundance flows to you. But the actual source, the infinite wellspring from which all supply originates, is spirit itself. And spirit never runs dry, never gets laid off, never has a bad quarter, never stops operating. This distinction is absolutely crucial. Because when you understand that spirit is your true source, you stop living in fear of what might happen to any particular channel. Channels may change, shift, disappear, or transform, but your source remains eternally constant and infinitely abundant. This realization brings a profound peace to your financial life because you're no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. What makes this even more powerful is understanding how spiritual law actually operates. Most people think that if they feel strongly enough about money, if they get emotional enough about their desires, if they work hard enough or worry intensely enough, they can somehow force abundance to appear. But Joseph Murphy discovered that divine supply operates more like gravity. It responds to natural law, not to emotional effort. The revelation here is that your words carry far more creative power than your feelings when it comes to manifestation. You can feel worried about money while speaking abundance into your wallet, and the spoken words will override the worried feelings. You can feel uncertain about your future while declaring divine supply, and the declaration will activate forces that your emotions never could. This is why the wallet practice is so effective. It's not about getting yourself into the right emotional state or trying to manufacture feelings of abundance when your bank account says otherwise. It's about aligning your speech with spiritual truth, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Your words become the bridge between invisible supply and visible demonstration. Think about how liberating this is. You don't have to wait until you feel confident to speak confidently. You don't have to feel abundant to declare abundance. You don't have to feel secure to activate security. The law responds to your spoken alignment with truth, not to your temporary emotional state. This understanding transforms the entire experience of using the wallet affirmation. Instead of trying to convince yourself to believe something that contradicts your current experience, you're simply speaking truth that exists independent of your experience. Instead of hoping the words will work, you're recognizing that they must work because they align with how spiritual law operates. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough, you'll find this same principle at work. People who consistently attract abundance have learned, whether consciously or unconsciously, to speak from their source rather than from their circumstances. They've discovered that their voice carries authority over their financial reality in ways their emotions never could. Now, I want to explore with you the specific timing and approach that makes this practice most effective. There are particular moments in your day when your subconscious mind is most receptive to new programming, and there are specific ways of speaking these words that amplify their impact exponentially. Write in the comments, "Spirit is my source," if you can feel the truth of this distinction between channels and source in your own financial experience. The deeper you go into Joseph Murphy's teachings, the more you realize that our entire relationship with money has been built on a fundamental misunderstanding. Most people have unconsciously placed money in one of two categories, either as something to worship or something to fight against. But both of these approaches completely miss the truth about what money actually is and how it operates. Money is neither your God nor your enemy. It's not inherently good or evil, powerful or powerless. Money is essentially a neutral servant, a sacred symbol that responds to the energy and intention you bring to it. Think about this for a moment. Money has no consciousness of its own, no personal agenda, no preferences about who it serves. It simply flows toward those who understand how to work with it as a spiritual tool rather than a material master. This revelation changes everything about how you interact with your wallet and the money it contains. When you approach money with respect rather than resentment, it responds by multiplying. When you bless it instead of cursing it, it lingers in your life rather than rushing away. When you speak to it as spiritual law rather than treating it as random chance, it obeys with the same consistency as any natural force. The impact of this understanding goes far beyond your personal finances. When you recognize money as a sacred servant, you stop giving it power over your emotions, your decisions, your peace of mind. You begin to see that your relationship with money is really a reflection of your relationship with abundance itself, with your own sense of worthiness, with your trust in spiritual provision. This is exactly what the scripture in Philippians 4:19 is revealing when it says, "My God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus." This isn't just a comforting promise. It's a precise description of how divine supply actually operates. Your needs don't create the supply. Your desperation doesn't generate the abundance. Your hard work doesn't manufacture the provision. The supply already exists, complete and infinite, in what the Scripture calls his riches in glory. This is another way of describing the spiritual realm, where abundance is the natural state, where there's no lack, no limitation, no shortage of anything good. And the bridge between those eternal riches and your physical wallet is your spoken word, your declaration, your alignment with this spiritual truth. The journey into true abundance consciousness doesn't stop here. There are deeper teachings, more revelations, and practical applications waiting for you. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss the next breakthrough that could completely transform how money flows in your life. Your future abundant self will thank you for making this decision today. Most people have this completely backwards. They think their financial need is what activates divine supply, so they focus on their problems, their bills, their shortfalls, hoping that God will notice their desperation and respond. But the Scripture reveals that the riches already exist in spirit, waiting to be accessed through your words of faith rather than your words of fear. This is why the wallet practice is so transformative. When you speak divine substance fills this wallet now, you're not trying to convince God to create something new for you. You're accessing what already exists in the spiritual realm and giving it permission to manifest in your physical reality. You're serving as a bridge between the invisible abundance and the visible demonstration. The hidden truth behind every financial breakthrough is this principle of accessing pre-existing spiritual riches through aligned speech. The money isn't being created in response to your words. It's being released from where it already exists in abundance. Your voice becomes the key that unlocks the supply that has been waiting for your recognition. This understanding completely transforms how you use the wallet affirmation. Instead of hoping it will work, you know it must work because you're aligning with eternal spiritual law. Instead of trying to make something happen, you're allowing what already exists to flow into your experience. Now, I want to share with you the precise timing and rhythm that makes this practice most effective. There are specific moments when your subconscious mind is most receptive to this new programming, and there are particular ways of speaking these words that can accelerate your results dramatically. Write in the comments, "I choose to treat money as a sacred servant," if this perspective shift about money's true nature resonates with your journey toward abundance. The journey toward financial transformation requires understanding something that most people get completely wrong about how divine supply actually operates. This revelation has the power to immediately shift your entire approach to the wallet practice and dramatically accelerate your results. Here's what Joseph Murphy discovered through years of studying spiritual law. Divine supply doesn't respond to begging, pleading, or desperation. It doesn't move because you want something badly or because you're in a crisis situation. In fact, desperation actually creates resistance to the very thing you're trying to attract because desperation carries the energy of lack, not abundance. Instead, divine supply responds when you speak truth without fear, when you declare abundance from a place of spiritual alignment rather than emotional neediness, when you approach your wallet practice with the confidence of someone who knows they're working with universal law, not hoping for a miracle. This shift in your internal approach changes everything about how the practice works. The key is developing what Joseph Murphy called rhythm in your declarations. This isn't about speaking loudly or with intense emotion. It's about speaking with the steady, confident rhythm of someone who knows that spiritual law is as reliable as gravity. When you speak the wallet affirmation with this kind of rhythmic alignment, you're not trying to convince the universe of anything. You're simply activating forces that are already in motion. Behind the scenes of this practice is an understanding that goes even deeper than most people realize. Every physical thing you can see or touch, including every dollar in your wallet, is made of what spiritual teachers call substance. This substance is the invisible foundation, the spiritual root from which all visible form emerges. Think about this. Carefully, the money in your wallet isn't just paper and ink or digital numbers on a screen. Each dollar, each coin, each digital transaction carries within it the same divine substance that creates everything in the physical world. Money is actually condensed spiritual energy that has taken physical form. This means every financial transaction is essentially a spiritual exchange. Your words have the power to reactivate the spiritual circulation of this substance in your financial life. When you speak truth over your wallet, you're not trying to create something from nothing. You're awakening the dormant spiritual energy that already exists within your money and giving it permission to multiply and flow back to you. Most people handle money as if it's just dead matter, just a material tool with no spiritual significance. But when you understand that every dollar contains divine substance, your entire relationship with money becomes a sacred practice. Every time you touch your wallet becomes an opportunity to acknowledge and activate this invisible spiritual foundation. This revelation explains why the wallet affirmation works so effectively. You're not trying to manifest money out of thin air. You're reactivating the divine substance that's already present in your financial reality. You're reminding the spiritual energy within your money of its true nature and directing it to multiply and return to you according to spiritual law. The impact of this understanding transforms every financial decision you make. When you pay for something, you're not losing money. You're circulating divine substance with the expectation that it will return to you multiplied. When you receive money, you're not just getting paid, you're witnessing divine substance manifesting in your experience because you've learned to speak truth over your financial reality. This is why consistency in the practice is so crucial. Each time you speak the affirmation, you're strengthening the spiritual circulation of substance in your life. Each declaration builds momentum, creating a current of abundance that becomes stronger and more reliable over time. Now, I want to show you exactly how to implement this practice with the specific timing and approach that maximizes its effectiveness, ensuring that you're working with the natural rhythms of your subconscious mind for the most powerful results possible. Write in the comments, "I activate divine substance now," if you're ready to start seeing your money as condensed spiritual energy rather than just physical currency. The transformation in your financial reality begins the moment you understand that your words aren't just sounds floating in the air. They're actually creative forces that shape your experience with money. This understanding represents a complete paradigm shift from how most people think about the relationship between what they say and what they experience. Joseph Murphy discovered that spiritual law operates with absolute precision, without judgment, and without the ability to distinguish between what you want and what you're actually declaring. When you say, "I'm broke," spiritual law doesn't hear that as a complaint or a temporary situation. It hears that as an instruction, a command to maintain the condition of being broke. When you repeatedly say, "There's never enough," you're literally programming your reality to reflect that exact limitation. This revelation might feel overwhelming at first, especially when you start paying attention to how often these phrases slip out of your mouth throughout the day. But here's the hidden truth that changes everything. The same law that has been reflecting your words of lack back to you will just as faithfully reflect your words of abundance once you make the conscious decision to change your speech patterns. The impact happens faster than most people expect because spiritual law doesn't have a time delay. It doesn't need to check with anyone, analyze your situation, or determine whether you deserve what you're declaring. It simply obeys. When you shift from speaking lack to blessing your wallet, you're literally redirecting the creative force of your words toward abundance instead of limitation. This is where the true power of the wallet blessing reveals itself. The moment you place your hand on your wallet and speak words of divine substance and flow, something profound occurs in the invisible realm. You step out of the stream of lack that you've been unconsciously swimming in and enter the stream of eternal flow that has always been available to you. The gates of divine sufficiency aren't hidden somewhere far away. They're right there in your wallet, waiting for you to open them with your spoken blessing. Your wallet stops being a reminder of what you don't have and becomes a portal to what you're calling into existence. It becomes included in spiritual truth rather than limited to physical appearance. Most people don't realize that their wallet is actually absorbing the energy of every word they speak near it, over it, or while touching it. It's like a spiritual recording device that captures and reflects back the dominant energy you've been feeding it. When you consistently bless it instead of cursing it, you begin to shift its entire energetic signature from scarcity to abundance. Behind the scenes of this practice is a profound spiritual principle. Everything in your physical reality is constantly seeking to align with your dominant declarations. Your wallet, your bank account, your income sources, even the opportunities that come your way are all influenced by the consistent energy of your words. When you change your words, you change the magnetic field that surrounds your financial life. The journey from financial struggle to abundance often turns on this single decision to monitor and redirect your speech, not just during the wallet practice, but throughout your entire day. Every casual comment about money, every offhand remark about your finances, every unconscious phrase about lack or limitation is either reinforcing your current reality or helping to create a new one. This mindset shift requires developing a new level of consciousness about the creative power you carry in your voice. Instead of speaking from your circumstances, you begin speaking to your circumstances. Instead of describing what you see, you begin declaring what you want to experience. Instead of reporting on your current financial reality, you start programming your future financial reality. Now, I want to reveal to you the specific signs that indicate this practice is beginning to work in your life, along with the exact time frame you can expect to see these confirmations starting to appear in your experience. Write in the comments, "I choose to bless instead of curse," if you're ready to become conscious of every word you speak about money and redirect them toward abundance. What Joseph Murphy understood about financial transformation goes far deeper than most people realize. The real obstacle standing between you and abundance isn't what you might think it is. It's not your debt, your credit score, your lack of education, or even your current income level. The mountain you're actually facing is something much more fundamental. It's the mountain of disbelief that has been built up in your mind over years of fear-based thinking and speaking. This revelation changes everything about how you approach your financial situation. When you understand that disbelief is your real enemy, you stop fighting the wrong battle. You stop focusing all your energy on trying to change external circumstances and start addressing the internal programming that created those circumstances in the first place. Every time you speak the wallet affirmation with genuine conviction, you're literally casting that mountain of disbelief into the sea. Each declaration of divine substance fills this wallet now is like taking a spiritual sledgehammer to the limiting beliefs that have been blocking your financial flow. You're not just speaking words into the air, you're dismantling the invisible barriers that have been keeping abundance at arm's length. The transformation begins when you recognize that your empty wallet isn't really empty because there's no money available to you. It's empty because it has been consistently filled with something else entirely. Fear instead of faith, guilt instead of gratitude, and most significantly, silence instead of spoken spiritual law. Think about this carefully. Most people approach their wallet with an undercurrent of anxiety. They touch it wondering if there will be enough. They open it expecting disappointment. They use it while mentally calculating what they can't afford. This emotional atmosphere of fear creates an energetic environment where money cannot comfortably remain or multiply. The guilt component is equally destructive. So many people carry unconscious shame about their relationship with money, guilt about past financial decisions, guilt about wanting more, guilt about spending on themselves, guilt about not having enough to give others. This guilt creates a spiritual atmosphere where abundance feels wrong or undeserved, naturally repelling the very thing you're trying to attract. But perhaps the most significant factor is the silence. Most people never speak spiritual law over their finances at all. They may complain about money, worry about money, even occasionally hope for more money. But they rarely, if ever, speak with spiritual authority over their financial reality. This silence leaves a vacuum where fear and limitation naturally flourish. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough is this same pattern. Someone deciding to fill their wallet with faith instead of fear, gratitude instead of guilt, and spoken spiritual law instead of worried silence. The physical money follows the spiritual atmosphere you create through your consistent words and thoughts. The journey from financial struggle to abundance requires this internal transformation first. You cannot continue to approach your wallet from a place of fear and expect it to produce anything other than more reasons to be fearful. You cannot fill it with guilty energy and expect it to attract abundant supply. You cannot remain silent about your spiritual authority over money and expect money to recognize that authority. This is why the wallet practice is so much more than positive thinking or affirmations. It's a complete retraining of your subconscious relationship with money at the deepest level. Every time you speak truth over your wallet, you're installing faith where fear used to be, gratitude where guilt used to be, and spiritual law where silence used to be. The impact of this transformation extends far beyond your wallet into every area of your financial life. When you change the spiritual atmosphere around your money, opportunities begin appearing that you never noticed before. People start offering help in unexpected ways. Resources become available that seemed impossible before. Now, I want to share with you the precise implementation strategy that makes this practice most effective, including the optimal times of day and specific techniques that can accelerate your results dramatically. Write in the comments, I replace fear with faith, if you're ready to start filling your wallet with spiritual law instead of worried silence. The deeper you understand Joseph Murphy's teachings, the more you realize that your wallet is far more than a passive container for your money. It's actually functioning as a spiritual recording device, constantly capturing and storing the energy of every single interaction you have with it. This hidden truth about how spiritual energy works reveals why some people seem to effortlessly attract money while others struggle despite their best efforts. Every time you reach for your wallet, you're not just accessing your money, you're writing a line in an invisible script that determines your financial future. When you touch it with dread, wondering if there will be enough for what you need, you're literally programming that symbol to reflect scarcity back to you. When you open it and automatically think, there's nothing here, you're reinforcing the very limitation you're trying to escape. Most people don't realize they're doing this because it happens so automatically, so unconsciously. But your subconscious mind is recording every emotional tone, every worried thought, every fearful assumption you carry when interacting with your wallet. Over time, these repeated patterns create what essentially becomes your financial personality, the invisible script that governs how money responds to you. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that your wallet isn't neutral at all. It's spiritually charged with whatever energy you consistently bring to it. Think about this carefully. If you've been touching your wallet with anxiety for years, that anxiety has literally become embedded in its energetic signature. If you've been opening it with disappointment, that disappointment has become part of its spiritual atmosphere. But here's where this understanding becomes incredibly empowering. Every single interaction with your wallet is essentially a spiritual vote. You're either voting for flow or voting for fear. You're either casting a ballot for abundance or casting a ballot for limitation, and the cumulative effect of these votes determines whether your wallet consistently fills or consistently drains. This means that every touch, every glance, every moment of contact with your wallet becomes an opportunity to rewrite the script. Instead of unconsciously reinforcing old patterns of lack, you can consciously install new patterns of abundance. Instead of voting for fear, you can deliberately cast your vote for flow. The transformation happens faster than most people expect because your wallet responds immediately to changes in your energy. The moment you start touching it with blessing instead of worry, speaking to it with authority instead of anxiety, approaching it with gratitude instead of dread, its spiritual charge begins to shift. You're literally reprogramming the energetic field that surrounds your money. Behind the scenes of this practice is a profound spiritual principle that most people never consider. Your wallet becomes a reflection of your dominant financial consciousness. If your consciousness is dominated by fear, your wallet will reflect that energy back to you through continuous lack. If your consciousness is dominated by faith, your wallet will reflect that energy back to you through increasing abundance. This is why the wallet affirmation is so much more powerful than most financial strategies. You're not just trying to change your circumstances, you're changing the spiritual charge that creates your circumstances. You're not just hoping for better results, you're installing the energetic foundation that makes better results inevitable. The journey from financial struggle to abundance requires this level of consciousness about the invisible forces at work in your money life. Every decision becomes an opportunity to vote for the reality you want to experience. Every interaction with your wallet becomes a chance to strengthen the spiritual current that flows toward you or away from you. Most people spend their entire lives unconsciously voting against their own abundance through worried touches, fearful thoughts, and limiting assumptions about money. But once you understand this dynamic, you can begin to consciously and deliberately vote for the financial reality you actually want to experience. Now, I want to show you exactly how to implement this understanding in the most practical and effective way possible, including the specific techniques that can help you maintain this new consciousness even when old patterns try to resurface. Write in the comments, "I vote for abundance," if you're ready to start consciously choosing the energy you bring to every interaction with your wallet. The power of this wallet transformation becomes crystal clear when you see it working in real life. Joseph Murphy often shared the story of a woman who came to him completely distraught about her financial situation. She was doing everything she thought she should be doing, working hard, managing her budget carefully, even reading positive books about money. But despite all her efforts, every time she reached into her purse, the same pattern would repeat itself. Her face would tense up, her shoulders would tighten, and her mind would automatically whisper those familiar words of dread. It won't be enough. She had unknowingly trained her nervous system to associate her purse with anxiety, turning what should have been a tool of abundance into a trigger for financial stress. The breakthrough came when Joseph Murphy helped her understand that the problem wasn't her work ethic, her budgeting skills, or even her financial circumstances. The problem was the invisible conversation she was having with abundance every single time she touched her purse. He gave her a simple but profound instruction: change what you say at the exact moment of contact. Instead of touching her purse with worried anticipation, she began to speak truth. Divine substance fills. This purse now, I am always fully supplied. The transformation was remarkable. Within days, unexpected income began flowing into her life. But more importantly, her entire relationship with money shifted. She no longer approached her purse with apology or anxiety. She approached it with spiritual authority. This story reveals something profound about how financial transformation actually works. The change didn't happen because she suddenly received a windfall or got a better job. The change happened because she reprogrammed the spiritual atmosphere surrounding her money through conscious speech at the moment of interaction. Your wallet functions exactly like what Joseph Murphy called a spiritual womb. Just as a physical womb brings forth life according to what has been planted within it, your wallet brings forth financial reality according to the energy you consistently speak into it. When you speak fear into this spiritual womb, it gives birth to experiences of lack, limitation, and financial struggle. When you speak truth into it, it produces demonstrations of abundance, supply, and financial flow. This isn't magic or wishful thinking. This is spiritual law operating with the same precision as any natural force. Your wallet responds to the dominant energy you feed it because everything in your physical reality is designed to reflect your inner consciousness back to you. The invisible creates the visible through the bridge of your spoken word. Behind the scenes of this, transformation is a recognition that your financial reality is far more malleable than most people realize. Money doesn't have its own agenda or personality. It doesn't decide who deserves abundance and who doesn't. It simply flows toward whatever consciousness consistently calls it through aligned speech and expectation. The journey from financial struggle to abundance often turns on this single decision to treat your wallet as a sacred space for truth rather than a dumping ground for fear. When you understand that every word you speak near it, over it, or while touching it is literally programming your financial future, you begin to approach money with an entirely different level of consciousness. Most people spend years trying to change their external financial circumstances without ever addressing the internal spiritual atmosphere that creates those circumstances. They focus on finding better jobs, cutting expenses, or developing new income streams while completely ignoring the invisible forces that determine whether those strategies will actually work. But when you recognize your wallet as a spiritual womb that responds to your words with absolute faithfulness, you realize that you can transform your financial reality from the inside out. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become a conscious creator of your own abundance through the power of intentional speech. Now, I want to explore with you the deeper implications of this spiritual law and show you exactly how to maintain this new consciousness even when old patterns of financial fear try to reassert themselves in your daily life. Write in the comments, "My wallet is a spiritual womb." If this understanding about the creative power of your words over money resonates with your own experience and journey, the transformation in your financial reality becomes even more powerful when you understand how to actively reverse the unconscious programming you've been installing for years. Most people don't realize that every time they say, "I can't afford that," they're not just declining a purchase. They're actually creating a spiritual blockage in their financial channels. This seemingly innocent phrase carries tremendous spiritual weight because it's a declaration of limitation that your subconscious mind takes as absolute truth. When you repeatedly tell the universe that you can't afford things, you're essentially programming reality to ensure that you continue to not be able to afford them. You're closing doors before they even have a chance to open, blocking opportunities before they can reach you. But here's what changes everything about this pattern. The moment you recognize these words as spells that you've been unconsciously casting, you can begin to reverse them instantly. Spiritual law doesn't have a time delay. It doesn't need to process your old programming before accepting new instructions. The moment you speak differently, you install new agreements with abundance. Instead of saying, "I can't afford that," you might say, "I choose not to purchase this now, but all that is mine comes to me easily." Instead of declaring limitation, you're acknowledging choice while keeping the channels of abundance open. You're speaking from abundance rather than from lack, which completely changes the energy you're sending into your financial field. The journey from financial limitation to abundance often requires this kind of conscious reprogramming of your everyday speech. Patterns, Every casual comment about money is either reinforcing your current reality or helping to create a new one. Every offhand remark about your finances is either strengthening old limitations or building new possibilities. Joseph Murphy understood that most people need to actively cancel the old programming before they can fully install the new. This is why there's such power in making a conscious declaration that breaks the agreements you've unknowingly made with lack and limitation. When you say, "I cancel every word of lack I've ever spoken over my wallet. I now speak only truth, only flow, only increase," you're not just speaking words, you're performing a spiritual reset. This declaration works because it acknowledges that your previous words had power, but it also claims your authority to change course immediately. You're essentially telling the universe that all previous contracts with scarcity are now null and void, and you're installing new agreements based on abundance and flow. Behind the scenes of this practice is an understanding that your financial reality is constantly updating itself based on your most recent and consistent declarations. Your old words don't have permanent power over you unless you continue to reinforce them. The moment you begin speaking differently, the spiritual machinery that creates your financial experience begins recalibrating to match your new instructions. The impact of this kind of conscious speech reversal can be surprisingly immediate. People often report that within days of making this declaration and beginning to monitor their financial language, unexpected money starts appearing. Forgotten refunds, surprise gifts, new opportunities, or simple windfalls that seem to come out of nowhere. This isn't coincidence. It's the natural result of removing spiritual blocks that have been preventing abundance from reaching you. When you stop telling the universe that you can't afford things and start speaking from a place of choice and abundance, you literally clear the pathways for money to flow more freely in your direction. The transformation requires developing a new level of consciousness about every word you speak related to money, not just during formal affirmation practice, but throughout your entire day. Your casual conversations, your internal thoughts, your automatic responses all carry the same creative power as your intentional declarations. Now, I want to reveal to you the specific timing and approach that makes this reprogramming most effective, including how to maintain this new consciousness, even when challenging financial situations tempt you to return to old patterns of fear-based speech. Write in the comments, "I cancel all words of lack," if you're ready to actively reverse the unconscious financial programming you've been carrying and install new agreements with abundance. What you're experiencing right now represents more than just learning about a financial technique. This is actually a turning point, a moment of divine recalibration where the very foundation of your relationship with money can shift completely. Joseph Murphy understood that there are certain moments in life where a single realization, a single sentence, a single decision can literally reorganize your entire reality around a new truth. This is one of those moments, when you fully grasp the power contained within the wallet affirmation and make the conscious choice to implement it. You're not just changing a habit, you're installing new spiritual software that will govern how abundance flows in your life from this point forward. The atmosphere surrounding your money, which may have been dominated by fear and limitation for years, can transform completely through the consistent power of one carefully constructed sentence. The revelation becomes even more profound when you understand the precise spiritual architecture built into each word of the core affirmation. Joseph Murphy didn't choose these words randomly or simply because they sounded positive. Every phrase was selected for its specific spiritual frequency and its ability to activate particular laws of abundance. When you say divine substance, you're not talking about money in its physical form. You're calling upon the eternal, unlimited source from which all material wealth emerges. You're connecting with the infinite intelligence that creates abundance effortlessly and continuously throughout the universe. This phrase, immediately elevates your consciousness beyond the limitations of the physical world and aligns you with the realm where scarcity doesn't exist. The phrase, "fills this wallet now," carries tremendous spiritual authority because it's a direct command to divine substance, not a request or a hope. You're giving the unlimited source a specific location to occupy and a definite time frame for manifestation. The word "now" is particularly powerful because it cuts through any unconscious beliefs about delay, unworthiness, or having to wait for better circumstances. You're declaring that you're ready to receive immediately. When you declare, "money flows to me," you're establishing movement and circulation as the natural state of your financial reality. Flow implies continuous motion, endless supply, and effortless abundance. You're not asking for a one-time blessing or hoping for a temporary windfall. You're installing a permanent current of prosperity that moves consistently in your direction. The phrase, "in perfect ways by perfect law," demonstrates profound wisdom because it releases your ego's need to control how abundance appears. You're trusting divine intelligence to orchestrate the perfect circumstances, opportunities, and channels for money to reach you. This eliminates struggle, manipulation, and the exhausting effort of trying to make things happen through willpower alone. Finally, "without delay" serves as a spiritual sword that cuts through procrastination, both on your part and in the invisible realm. You're eliminating any sense of someday or when the time is right and installing immediate expectation. This phrase activates urgency in the spiritual realm while maintaining peace in your emotional state. Behind the scenes of this carefully constructed sentence is an understanding that words carry vibrational frequencies that either harmonize with abundance or create resistance to it. Each phrase in the affirmation was chosen to create a specific resonance that automatically aligns your consciousness with the laws that govern financial supply. The transformation happens because you're working with spiritual architecture rather than against it. Instead of using random positive thoughts or generic affirmations, you're speaking with the precise language that activates the machinery of manifestation. Every word serves a specific purpose in the process of turning invisible substance into visible supply. Now, I want to show you exactly how to implement this understanding with the rhythm and consistency that transforms this sentence from a hopeful statement into a reliable spiritual technology that consistently produces tangible results in your financial reality. Write in the comments, "I understand the spiritual architecture," if you can feel the precise power built into each word of this transformative sentence and you're ready to use it with full awareness. The transformation in your financial consciousness deepens when you understand what Joseph Murphy meant by flow-minded speaking. When you declare that "money flows to me," you're not just expressing a desire. You're fundamentally restructuring your identity from someone who hoards and worries about money to someone who naturally circulates and attracts it. Most people approach money with what can only be described as pond-minded thinking. They try to accumulate it, hold on to it, protect it from flowing away. They approach their finances with the energy of preservation rather than circulation. But this mentality actually creates the very stagnation they're trying to avoid, because money, like water, is designed to move. When you try to dam it up out of fear, it stops flowing to you as readily. Flow-minded speaking changes your entire energetic relationship with money because it acknowledges circulation as the natural state of abundance. When you consistently declare flow, you're programming your subconscious to expect money to move toward you as naturally as water flows downhill. You stop being a stagnant pond where money feels trapped and uncomfortable, and you become a dynamic river where money feels welcome to circulate freely. This shift in consciousness has profound practical implications. People who speak with flow-minded language tend to notice opportunities they never saw before. They attract helpful connections, unexpected resources, and financial solutions that seem to appear effortlessly. This isn't luck, it's the natural result of aligning their speech with the fundamental nature of abundance itself. Behind the scenes of this transformation is an understanding that abundance operates by movement, not accumulation. The more freely you allow money to circulate through your life, with gratitude when it comes and blessing when it goes, the more readily it returns to you in greater quantities. You become a river of substance that naturally draws more substance to itself. The hidden truth about flow-minded speaking is that it eliminates the resistance and fear that block financial channels. When you speak as someone who expects money to flow naturally and consistently, you stop sending out the desperate energy that actually repels abundance. Instead, you radiate the confident expectation that naturally attracts it. But perhaps the most profound aspect of this practice lies in understanding what it means when you declare that money flows by perfect law. This isn't just a comforting phrase, it's recognition of a fundamental, spiritual principle that completely eliminates randomness from your financial experience. When you align with perfect law, you're acknowledging that divine intelligence operates with absolute precision. Nothing happens by chance, nothing occurs randomly, nothing appears or disappears without spiritual cause. Your financial experience becomes governed by reliable spiritual principles rather than subjected to the apparent chaos of economic circumstances. This understanding brings tremendous peace to your financial journey because you realize that your consistent application of spiritual law must produce consistent results. It's not a matter of hoping the principles will work, it's recognition that they cannot fail when properly applied, just as gravity cannot fail to operate when you drop an object. Perfect law means that every word you speak with genuine spiritual alignment sets forces in motion that must produce corresponding results. There's no cosmic lottery where some people get lucky and others don't. There's no spiritual favoritism where abundance is available to some but not others. There's only law operating with mathematical precision in response to your consistent speech and consciousness. The journey from financial uncertainty to abundance becomes much more manageable when you understand that you're working with reliable spiritual technology rather than hoping for miraculous intervention. Every time you speak the wallet affirmation with understanding and consistency, you're engaging forces that operate as dependably as any natural law. Now, I want to explore with you the specific evidence you can expect to see as this spiritual law begins organizing your financial reality around your new declarations, including the time frame and signs that indicate the practice is successfully taking root in your experience. Write in the comments, "I am a river of abundance," if you're ready to shift from pond-minded thinking to flow-minded speaking and trust. Perfect law to govern your financial reality. When you truly understand what happens in the invisible realm every time you speak the wallet affirmation, you begin to appreciate the profound transformation taking place. Joseph Murphy recognized that this practice does far more than change your thinking. It literally installs a completely new spiritual atmosphere around your money that begins attracting abundance according to divine law. Every time you hold your wallet and speak divine substance, fills this wallet now. Money flows to me in perfect ways by perfect law without delay. You're not just saying words into the air. You're actively rewriting the energetic script that has been governing your financial reality, possibly for years. The old script of limitation, fear, and scarcity gets overwritten with new programming based on flow, supply, and divine abundance. Behind the scenes of this transformation is what Joseph Murphy called the activation of divine machinery. This isn't metaphorical language, it's a recognition that there are spiritual forces constantly operating in the invisible realm, waiting for your conscious direction. When you speak with spiritual authority over your wallet, you're literally engaging this machinery and giving it specific instructions about how to organize your financial experience. The remarkable thing about this divine machinery is that it must respond according to law. It doesn't have the ability to ignore your consistent declarations or to decide whether you deserve what you're claiming. It simply activates in direct proportion to your faith-filled speech and begins rearranging circumstances, opportunities, and resources to match your spoken reality. This understanding reveals why consistency matters so much more than volume or emotional intensity. The transformation doesn't happen because you speak loudly or with great emotion. It happens because you establish rhythm, and rhythm creates dominion. When your declaration becomes as regular and natural as breathing, you transform a simple sentence into a powerful spiritual current that flows continuously in your life. Most people approach spiritual practices with the mindset that bigger, louder, or more emotional must be better. But Joseph Murphy discovered that spiritual law responds to consistency and alignment rather than force or intensity. The quiet, confident repetition of truth spoken daily over your wallet carries more transformative power than sporadic bursts of desperate prayer or emotional affirmation. The journey from financial struggle to abundance requires developing this kind of spiritual rhythm. When speaking truth over your wallet becomes as automatic as any other daily routine, you've crossed a threshold from hoping the practice works to knowing it must work because you've established it as spiritual law in your life. This rhythm creates what can only be described as a current of abundance that begins flowing toward you with increasing momentum. Just as a river gains power through consistent flow rather than occasional flooding, your financial supply gains strength through the steady, rhythmic declaration of truth rather than sporadic bursts of positive thinking. The impact of this understanding completely transforms your approach to the practice. Instead of wondering whether you're doing it right, or questioning whether it's working, you simply maintain the rhythm with the same confidence you have in natural law. You don't wonder whether gravity will work when you drop something. You know it will because it's law. The same certainty applies to your consistent declaration of divine substance filling your wallet. Behind every financial breakthrough is this same principle of establishing spiritual rhythm. People who consistently attract abundance have learned, often unconsciously, to maintain a steady flow of faith-filled speech about money, rather than allowing their declarations to be controlled by their circumstances. Now, I want to reveal to you the specific time frame and signs you can expect as this new spiritual atmosphere begins manifesting tangible evidence in your physical reality, along with how to recognize and amplify these initial confirmations. Write in the comments, "I establish spiritual rhythm," if you're ready to make this declaration as natural and consistent as breathing, transforming it from practice into permanent spiritual current. The implementation of this transformative practice begins with understanding that timing is everything when it comes to programming your subconscious mind. Joseph Murphy discovered that there are specific moments in your day when your subconscious is most receptive to new instructions, and the most powerful of these occurs in those precious minutes between sleep and full wakefulness. This is why your morning wallet ritual becomes so crucial to your financial transformation. Before your feet hit the floor, before you check your phone, before the world has a chance to fill your mind with its agenda of limitation and fear, you have a golden opportunity to set the vibrational tone for your entire day. When you reach for your wallet in those first moments of consciousness and speak the affirmation 3 times, you're essentially installing the operating system that will govern your financial experience for the next 24 hours. Your subconscious mind in this drowsy state is like fertile soil, ready to accept whatever seeds you plant. When the first vibration it receives is, "Divine substance fills this wallet now. Money flows to me in perfect ways by perfect law, without delay." You're programming abundance as your default setting before any external circumstances have a chance to contradict that truth. The power of this morning practice extends far beyond the few minutes it takes to perform. You're literally instructing your subconscious to look for evidence of abundance, to attract opportunities for financial flow, and to interpret your daily experiences through the lens of divine supply rather than material limitation. This single decision to begin each day by speaking truth over your wallet can completely transform how money shows up in your life. But the transformation deepens when you understand that this morning ritual is just the beginning. The real magic happens when you extend this conscious blessing to every single interaction you have with your wallet throughout the day. Every time you touch it, reach for it, open it, or even glance toward it, becomes an opportunity to reinforce the new programming you installed in the morning. This continuous blessing practice serves a profound purpose beyond just repetition. You're actually retraining your nervous system to associate money with rhythm and flow instead of anxiety and fear. Most people have unconsciously conditioned themselves to feel a spike of stress every time they interact with their wallet, wondering if there will be enough, worrying about what they can afford, dreading the moment of checking their balance. But when you make the conscious decision to speak blessing every time you touch your wallet, you begin pairing money with a completely different set of emotions and expectations. Instead of triggering fear, your wallet starts triggering faith. Instead of activating worry, it activates abundance consciousness. Instead of reminding you of limitation, it reminds you of limitless supply. Behind the scenes of this practice is a fascinating process of neural reprogramming. Every time you consciously choose to speak truth instead of fear when interacting with money, you're literally creating new neural pathways in your brain. The old pathways that connected money with stress begin to weaken, while new pathways that connect money with spiritual authority begin to strengthen. The impact of this continuous blessing extends far beyond your personal consciousness. When you consistently approach money with blessing instead of worry, you begin radiating a different energy that other people can feel. You attract different opportunities, different people, and different circumstances because your energetic signature around money has fundamentally shifted. This transformation in your daily approach to money creates what Joseph Murphy called a new spiritual atmosphere that follows you wherever you go. Whether you're at the grocery store, paying bills online, or making any financial decision, you're operating from abundance consciousness rather than scarcity consciousness. Now, I want to reveal to you the additional practices that can amplify this transformation even further, including how to extend this blessing consciousness to every financial transaction and how to maintain this new rhythm even when challenging circumstances tempt you to return to old patterns. Write in the comments, "I retrain my nervous system," if you're ready to transform every wallet interaction from a moment of fear into a moment of faith through consistent blessing. The transformation in your financial consciousness reaches an even deeper level when you understand the profound power of your bedtime wallet blessing. Just as your morning practice sets the tone for your day, your evening ritual programs, your subconscious mind during the 8 hours when it's most receptive to permanent change. When you place your wallet near you before sleep and declare the affirmation 3 times, you're doing something far more significant than ending your day with positive thoughts. You're essentially singing a lullaby of abundance to your subconscious mind, giving it specific instructions to work on your behalf throughout the night. While your conscious mind rests, your subconscious continues processing these declarations, organizing your thoughts, beliefs, and expectations around the reality of divine supply. Joseph Murphy understood that sleep is one of the most powerful times for spiritual programming because your conscious mind's resistance and doubt are completely out of the way. During these quiet hours, your subconscious mind can fully accept and integrate the truth that divine substance fills your wallet and money flows to you without delay. It begins commanding invisible forces to organize opportunities, connections, and resources that will support this new reality. This bedtime practice creates what can only be described as a continuous loop of abundance programming. You begin your day declaring truth over your wallet, reinforce it throughout the day with every interaction, and seal it at night by giving your subconscious mind clear instructions for overnight organization. This creates a 24-hour cycle of conscious manifestation that compounds over time. But perhaps the most transformative aspect of this journey involves completely revolutionizing how you approach every financial transaction. Most people unconsciously treat spending money as a loss, a depletion, a sacrifice that leaves them with less than they had before. This mentality creates resistance around every purchase and sends a signal to the universe that money leaving you is always a negative experience. When you understand that every transaction is actually an opportunity to bless the flow of abundance, everything changes. Instead of watching money leave your wallet with anxiety or regret, you begin sending it out with the conscious intention that it will return to you multiplied. This isn't naive optimism. It's recognition of how spiritual circulation actually works. The phrase, "divine substance flows freely from me and returns multiplied," transforms every purchase into a spiritual practice. You're no longer losing money. You're planting seeds of abundance that must produce a harvest according to spiritual law. You're no longer depleting your resources. You're participating in the circulation that keeps abundance flowing in your life. Behind the scenes of this practice is an understanding that money, like everything else in the universe, responds to the energy with which it's sent out. When you release money with blessing and expectation of return, you're programming it to find its way back to you in greater quantities. When you send it out with worry or resentment, you're actually repelling its return. This shift in consciousness around spending creates a profound sense of freedom in your financial life. You stop approaching every purchase with anxiety about whether you can afford it or fear about what it will cost you. Instead, you begin seeing every transaction as an investment in your own abundant future, a conscious act of circulating divine substance through your life. The impact of this transformed relationship with spending extends far beyond your personal finances. When you consistently bless money as it flows out of your life, you begin attracting more opportunities for it to flow in. You radiate the energy of someone who trusts abundance, rather than someone who hoards it out of fear, and abundance naturally gravitates toward that kind of consciousness. Now, I want to explore with you the specific evidence you can expect to see as these practices begin manifesting tangible results in your life, including the time frame for initial confirmations and how to recognize the subtle signs that divine law is actively organizing circumstances in your favor. Write in the comments, "I plant seeds of abundance," if you're ready to transform every financial transaction from a moment of loss into a moment of conscious investment in your abundant future. The transformation in your financial reality accelerates dramatically when you recognize that even the most casual phrases about money carry tremendous creative power. One of the most destructive patterns that Joseph Murphy identified is the unconscious habit of declaring what you can't afford. This seemingly innocent phrase is actually one of the most effective ways to program limitation into your financial experience, because it's a direct declaration to the universe about the boundaries of your supply. Every time you say, "I can't afford that," you're not just declining a purchase. You're making a definitive statement about your financial capacity that your subconscious mind accepts as absolute truth. You're essentially instructing the universe to ensure that you continue to not be able to afford things, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that keeps you trapped in cycles of limitation. The breakthrough comes when you understand that you can communicate the exact same practical decision without programming scarcity into your consciousness. When you replace "I can't afford that" with "I choose not to purchase this now, but all that is mine comes easily and richly," you're making the same decision about the purchase while maintaining your connection to abundance consciousness. This shift in language might seem subtle, but its impact on your subconscious programming is profound. Instead of declaring limitation, you're acknowledging choice. Instead of stating incapacity, you're affirming that your supply is unlimited, even though you're choosing not to access it in this moment. Instead of closing doors, you're keeping pathways open for abundance to flow to you in perfect timing. Behind the scenes of this language transformation is a recognition that your words are constantly either expanding or contracting your sense of financial possibility. When you consistently speak from abundance, even in moments when you're not making a purchase, you maintain the energetic signature that attracts more reasons to feel abundant. The journey toward true financial transformation requires this level of consciousness about every word you speak related to money. Your casual conversations, your internal thoughts, your automatic responses all contribute to the overall spiritual atmosphere that governs how money responds to you. But perhaps the most profound shift occurs when you fully embrace your wallet as what Joseph Murphy called an altar of abundance. This isn't metaphorical language. It's recognition that your wallet has become a sacred space where divine substance takes physical form, where invisible supply becomes visible demonstration, where spiritual law manifests material reality. When you treat your wallet as an altar, every interaction with it becomes a sacred ritual. Every word you speak over it becomes a prayer that activates spiritual forces. Every touch becomes a moment of conscious communion with the source of all supply. You stop treating it as just a practical tool and begin honoring it as a holy instrument through which divine abundance flows into your life. This transformation in your relationship with your wallet creates a profound shift in how you carry money consciousness throughout your day. Instead of approaching financial decisions with anxiety or uncertainty, you approach them with the reverence and confidence of someone who knows they're working with sacred tools for divine purposes. The power of treating your wallet as an altar lies in understanding that every word spoken into it becomes law that shall not return void. This isn't superstition. It's recognition of how spiritual law operates through physical symbols. When you consistently speak truth, blessing, and abundance over your wallet, you're literally programming it to attract and hold more of what you're declaring. Most people treat their wallet as a problem to be solved, a source of stress to be managed, or a reminder of what they lack. But when you transform it into an altar of abundance, it becomes a sacred partner in your financial journey, a constant reminder of your spiritual authority over money, and a physical anchor for your abundance consciousness. Now I want to reveal to you the specific evidence and time frame you can expect as these practices begin producing tangible results in your financial reality, along with how to recognize and amplify the initial signs that divine law is actively working on your behalf. Write in the comments, "My wallet is my altar," if you're ready to treat this everyday object as a sacred space where divine substance manifests through your spoken words. The most remarkable aspect of implementing Joseph Murphy's wallet practice is understanding the precise time frame within which spiritual law begins producing tangible evidence in your physical reality. When you speak the affirmation with genuine understanding and consistency, you're not entering a period of hopeful waiting. You're stepping into what can only be described as a 72-hour window of divine reorganization. This isn't arbitrary timing or mystical speculation. Joseph Murphy discovered through years of observation that spiritual law operates with mathematical precision. When you speak truth with authentic alignment, the invisible forces that govern your financial reality immediately begin rearranging circumstances, opportunities, and connections to match your new declarations. The 72-hour window represents the typical time frame for these invisible adjustments to produce visible evidence. The process happening behind the scenes during these 3 days is profound. Reality itself begins reordering around your spoken word, creating sacred space where your new rhythm of abundance consciousness can take root and manifest. Your consistent declarations have given the universe specific instructions, and divine intelligence begins orchestrating events, encounters, and opportunities that align with what you've spoken into existence. The transformation often begins subtly, with shifts that might seem insignificant to someone who doesn't understand what's happening spiritually. You might notice a lightness in your chest when you think about money, a release of the familiar tension that used to accompany financial thoughts. This isn't just psychological relief, it's evidence that the spiritual atmosphere around your finances has fundamentally shifted. Within the first 24 to 72 hours, the manifestations of this new spiritual current begin appearing in various forms. You might receive an unexpected refund you had completely forgotten about, perhaps from an old overpayment or a returned deposit that shows up without explanation. These aren't coincidences, they're confirmations that the universe is responding to your new declarations by returning money to you from sources you didn't even remember existed. Sometimes the evidence appears as forgotten checks that suddenly surface, payments that arrive earlier than expected, or debts that people unexpectedly decide to repay. You might find money in old clothes, discover gift cards you had misplaced, or receive unexpected rebates or corrections in your favor. Each of these occurrences represents divine timing, responding to your spoken authority over financial supply. The transformation also manifests through people who suddenly appear with helpful information, unexpected offers, or opportunities that seem perfectly timed for your current situation. Someone might mention a job opening just when you need additional income, or offer assistance with something that saves you money you were prepared to spend. These helpful connections aren't random. They're evidence of divine intelligence organizing circumstances around your new abundance consciousness. Perhaps most significantly, you begin experiencing what can only be described as divine timing confirmations. Opportunities present themselves exactly when you need them. Solutions appear just before problems become overwhelming, and resources become available at precisely the right moment. This synchronicity is evidence that your spoken word has activated spiritual forces that are now working continuously on your behalf. The journey through these initial 72 hours requires a particular kind of spiritual awareness, the ability to recognize evidence when it appears, even if it doesn't match your preconceived expectations about how abundance should manifest. The signs might be subtle, but they're unmistakable when you understand what you're looking for. Now, I want to explore with you how to maintain this momentum once the initial evidence begins appearing, including how to amplify these results and ensure that this 72-hour window becomes the beginning of permanent transformation rather than just a temporary improvement. Write in the comments, I watch for divine evidence, if you're ready to pay attention to all the ways the universe begins responding to your new declarations within this sacred 72-hour window. The transformation in your financial reality reaches its most powerful stage when you move beyond hoping for results to actually expecting divine evidence. This shift from uncertainty to expectation represents a fundamental change in your spiritual posture that dramatically accelerates the manifestation process. When you declare, I expect divine evidence within 72 hours, I welcome it, record it, celebrate it, and speak again, you're not just expressing optimism. You're claiming your rightful position as someone who works with spiritual law rather than being subject to random chance. Expectation carries a completely different energetic frequency than hope or wishful thinking. Hope implies uncertainty, a sense that something might or might not happen. But expectation implies confidence, a knowing that something must happen because you're working with reliable spiritual principles rather than unpredictable external circumstances. This shift in your internal stance sends a powerful signal to the universe that you understand how spiritual law operates and you're prepared to receive what you've spoken into existence. The key to maintaining this expectation lies in understanding that you must not interrupt the flow with fear or cancel your decrees with doubt. This is where most people unconsciously sabotage their own progress. They speak powerful declarations over their wallet, begin to see initial evidence, but then allow old patterns of fear-based thinking to creep back in and neutralize what they've set in motion. Joseph Murphy understood that spiritual law operates continuously and precisely, but it requires consistent alignment from the person working with it. Every time you entertain doubt about whether the practice is working or fear that your declarations might not manifest, you're essentially sending mixed signals to the universe. You're declaring abundance with your words while programming limitation with your thoughts. The journey through this expectation phase requires developing what can only be described as spiritual discipline, the ability to maintain your declarations regardless of what external circumstances might suggest. When you welcome divine evidence, record it when it appears, celebrate it as confirmation of spiritual law, and then continue speaking the same truth, you create an unstoppable momentum that builds upon itself. Recording the evidence serves a crucial purpose beyond just keeping track of your progress. Every time you write down or acknowledge the ways that abundance has responded to your declarations, you're reinforcing the neural pathways that recognize and expect more abundance. You're training your consciousness to look for evidence of divine supply rather than evidence of limitation. Behind the scenes of this practice is an understanding that celebration amplifies spiritual current. When you genuinely celebrate the unexpected refund, the forgotten check, the helpful person who appeared at just the right time, you're not just expressing gratitude, you're actually increasing the magnetic pull that draws more abundance into your experience. But perhaps the most profound transformation occurs when you understand the power of making your declaration public as a spiritual contract rather than keeping it as a private practice. When you publicly state, "Divine substance fills this wallet now. Money flows to me in perfect ways by perfect law without delay," you're doing something far more significant than sharing your beliefs. You're creating a spiritual contract that engages both visible and invisible witnesses. This public declaration transforms your spoken word from a personal affirmation into a sacred vow. You're essentially carving your sentence as a decree in digital stone, creating a permanent record that heaven and earth can witness. This isn't about performance or trying to impress others. It's about understanding that public accountability adds tremendous power to spiritual practice. The decision to make your declaration public represents a level of confidence and commitment that dramatically increases the practice's effectiveness. When you're willing to publicly align yourself with abundance consciousness, you're demonstrating the kind of faith that spiritual law responds to most powerfully. You're moving from private hope to public declaration, from secret practice to open spiritual authority. You've just experienced something profound, a complete transformation in how you understand and relate to money through the power of spoken spiritual law. The fact that you've stayed with me through this entire journey tells me that you recognize the truth in what Joseph Murphy discovered about divine substance and financial abundance. If you've found value in this teaching, if you can feel the spiritual authority awakening within you around money, then I invite you to become part of this community that's committed to living from abundance consciousness rather than limitation. When you subscribe to this channel, you're not just accessing content, you're joining a movement of people who understand that true wealth comes from aligning with spiritual law rather than struggling against material circumstances. There's something powerful about reaching the end of a message like this together. It creates a bond, a shared understanding that goes beyond casual viewing. If you made it all the way here, write in the comments, "This message was meant for me." Let that be your declaration, your public acknowledgement that you're ready to step into this new relationship with abundance. And if this conversation has resonated with your spirit, if you can feel the truth stirring in your heart about your authority over financial supply, tap that like button. It's more than just engagement. It's your way of saying yes to the transformation we've explored together. The journey doesn't end here, though. There's a video right here that takes this understanding even deeper, exploring how these same principles apply to every area of your life where you desire abundance and flow. Click and continue with me over there, because what you've learned today is just the beginning of discovering the full extent of your spiritual authority over every circumstance you face. Your wallet is waiting, your words are ready, your abundance is calling.